Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. We have another Shankly Sessions. It's another drive time one because we are extremely busy with content this week. We're going to be previewing Sheffield United versus Liverpool. This is a very big game for us this week in terms of keeping in touch. The expectation tonight is that Arsenal will beat Luton. So really important that we win this game. And this is the kind of game, if you look at the background here and stuff like that, where we could potentially stumble. Could the gaffer make a number of changes? Absolutely, based on what he's saying at the weekend against Fulham. Bramall Lane will be pumped and will be rocking again now with Heckingbottom after going out the door and Chris Wilder after returning, a familiar face back there again to try and work his magic, get them out of trouble and all that kind of stuff. They will struggle a little bit obviously with McBurney suspended. They have a bunch of injuries. They've had one win all season. They'll be anxious to try and get more points on the board. We have to make sure that we control that narrative through our play and through our possession, show the quality that comes through, not get caught up in the moment or in the atmosphere there at Bramall Lane. If we do, that's when we tend to get a bit derailed, we get a bit anxious, lose our formation, lose our structure, lose our principles and all that kind of stuff, start doing crazy things and all that kind of stuff, and this is what happens, and that's where you end up with those draws. So for us, we need to remain extremely focused and be a little bit patient. Don't let that anxiety kick in of Mo wanting to get his 200 goal, or that anxiety to calm things down by getting an early goal in the first 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it is. Take our time. The opportunities will come. Draw them out, open them up, do all that kind of good stuff that we're renowned for doing to really open up the game and make things happen. And if we do that, I think we should come out of there comfortably enough. If we don't do that, I think they'll drag us down into the trenches and they'll make a real tough game of it. So I think it's really important that our focus is right on that game, Don't be looking too far ahead to the Palace game on Saturday, the early game as well, coming off a Wednesday game. We'll have to deal with that when the time comes. Let's see what happens with Arsenal tonight, which will obviously add to a little bit of pressure as well, because we want to really keep in touch with them. Can't afford to be giving them a head start, especially with them coming up in December as well. That's going to be a huge game, and of course we have the FA Cup game against them as well. So ourselves and Arsenal are going to be seeing a lot of each other over the next month or so. But really interesting game, this one. Like I said, on the face of it, you would normally think Liverpool should just go in there and do the thing we've seen in the past. That's not quite what happens. I am expecting a decent result. I think we have everything to do it. It'll be interesting to see, as I said, how the gaffer picks. Does he go with the tried and tested? Does he sit down a few boys and rest them? Obviously a change will come with Matip, so Kanate will go in there. Does he go with a different formation? Does he go with 3 at the back? Who knows? Does he go with a double pivot? Does he put Endo and Trent in there? Who knows? He has so many options, even though we do have a reasonable amount of injuries as well. Becker's gone in there, Jota's gone in there, now Matip's gone in there. Obviously Robbo was out with the shoulder, Thiago's been out long term, Stefan's been out as well, Bietic. Plenty of injuries there to be dealing with and stuff like that, and good players as well that we could do with being in the squad at the moment with the volume of games coming up. But it's really important that we go about our business our way, and I spoke about this before, I think was before the Brentford game and stuff like that. I wanted us to go out and impose ourselves on the match, not wait to see how the match unfolds, but in a patient kind of way. And I think that's what we did against Brentford, and we handled it on the day. And in fairness, on the day, I think we made a Brentford side look really ordinary, which is not something we've always done. So yeah, I think this is a huge match for us. If you look at the form at the moment, Sheffield United in really poor form, coming off the back of that Burnley game, which basically sold Heckingbottom down the line basically, and why Chris Wilder's come in. A 5-0 defeat at Turf Moor to Burnley, who have been really poor as well. Just put the icing on the cake there in terms of the decision. For us, of course, coming off the Fulham win 4-3, kind of got out of jail a little bit, scored some good goals, but the performance overall was pretty poor. Most guys were probably lacklustre. Some really good goals, and obviously with Endo coming on and scoring, and McAllister scoring that missile of a shot as well, it's obviously given the gaffer something that he has to think about. So it'll be interesting to see how much he does tinker with it, or does he stick with the tried and tested. My guess is there's going to be a couple of changes, I would imagine. Does Harvey come back in? Does Curtis come back in? Does Joe play as part of a back three? If you put Joe in there with Virgil and with Canate, have you enough cover on the bench there with Jarrell Kwanzaa just and stuff like that? Do you put Joe in at right back, shift Trent into the double pivot? What way are you going to do it? Does Dominic continue? He's been very off in terms of his form. Gravenberch was never in the game the other day. Does he get another go at it? Does he stick with Darwin and try to get this goal going? The feeling at the moment, I think, with Darwin is if he gets a goal or two, he'll be flying and he'll be back at it and stuff like that. So do you stick with him in a game like this and try and get him to get a few goals, get that confidence back there again in the final third? His play within the team is really good, so we're not overly worried about him not scoring, but he does need to be putting away a few of those opportunities. And I think if he can put away some of the opportunities that we create for him, it will ease the pressure on us at times, Sometimes missing those opportunities gets us second guessing and questioning ourselves in a number of different positions, not just Darwin's and stuff like that, So yeah, really important game coming up. The Chris Wilder effect, I should say, will definitely be a factor in the game. There'll be a lot of people around Sheffield United very happy at the moment with Chris Wilder coming back in. He was kind of a hero there for a while as well, and at the time, I think when he lost the job and they got relegated and stuff like that, myself and Darren said at the time that it was a bad move. They probably should have stuck with him, but now that he's back, let's see what he's going to do. Timing is everything. Will they get a manager bounce? Will they up their performance by about 20% now? New manager in, looking to create a situation there where they want to be in the manager's plans. Will he create a lot of changes? Has he had enough time to look at the team and all that kind of stuff? I'm sure he's been following the team with his history and stuff like that, and also he'll have a fair idea who plays and who doesn't. I'm sure he would have loved to have McBurney available, but he doesn't. That, I think, will be a huge factor for us as well, him not involved. Even though this year he hasn't been as good as previous years, he's still a focal guy there at Sheffield United. He's the guy they look to in terms of potentially creating and making things happen. So big game coming up. I think, and I'm hoping that we're going to run out, say, 4-1 winners. I think there will be a goal in this for Sheffield United somewhere along the line. Freezing cold, horrible night at Bramall Lane. But we got to go out like we fancy it. We got to go out like we want it and stuff like that, And players have to show up and be accountable, you know what I mean? And we need to use our possession, use our quality and all that kind of stuff to keep them out of the game and to control the narrative of the game, as we call it. So let's see what happens, folks. Again, just a short preview. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Let us know your predictions. Let us know what your starting 11 looks like. Certainly going to be an interesting game, and for me, not a foregone conclusion. Even though I'm predicting a 4-1 to the Reds, I still think we'll have a tough night at Bramall Lane, hoping to get out of there with no more injuries and then move on to the lunchtime game against Crystal Palace. I will be back tomorrow night with a live doing a match reaction for that game, and I hope it's a good result for us and that we're pushing on. I'm also live tonight at 7 o'clock. Join me for that Pro Wrestling Weekly, coming at you a day early because we're covering the Liverpool game tomorrow night. So from 7 to 8 tonight, roughly about an hour, talking all things pro wrestling, all the latest news and stuff like that. You're more than welcome to join me for that if you enjoy a bit of pro wrestling. As always, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, drop a like on the video, share the content, and of course follow us on all the socials as well. We're out there. We also have the audio versions on Spotify and all that kind of good stuff. So we have you covered on all bases, basically. Talk to you again real soon. Come on, the Reds.